up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the 10-7 MMA. I'm DS, and I'm here with my guy, Dino Bam Bam, per usual. And you caught us on another very special episode. Of course, we have Harry from Proshmo Bets with us. We had him on last time too, but unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, we lost him about halfway through. Harry, it's good to have you back, brother.
What's up, DS? How you doing?
I'm doing better now that I see your pretty faces right here on my screen. Um, you also have something interesting going on too. Not only are you the foremost betting expert with all the tools that you've got in place that we've touched on before, but you also had some direct exposure to some of these fighters today. You were actually at the Fighter Hotel, right?
Oh yeah, I was over at the red and the blue corner, and man, what an exciting time! Luque adjacent to me. You had Quilland, you had Merab, Dvalishvili. It was wild, man. I can't believe I was even in that room. I don't think I was allowed to be in that room, to be honest with you. On God.
But that's what we do here. We finagle things and we make shit happen. So again, happy to have you, bro. Thanks for being here. And obviously, if you haven't figured out yet, we are here to break down and talk about UFC 316, Merab versus Sean O'Malley, the rematch. Is it a long time coming? I don't know that you could say that, but we've got a good docket of fights on the card. I'm sorry, we got 13 fights, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, with a couple late additions. And obviously 2 title belts on the line as well. Anything you want to say before we get into all that, Dino?
Yeah, just real quick, do like the thing at the bottom says, hit that like and subscribe button. We will also be putting Harry's info down there, so go give him a like and sub on his YouTube channel. You can also follow us both on Instagram at the107MMA and at pro.schmo.bets. That's Proshmo Bets. By the way, real quick, just to give our Instagram a little plug, Harry, you weren't the only one with famous people, this week, okay? We were getting some love. DS, can you please, I'll let you be the degenerate. Why don't you tell these folks who's all over our Instagram leaving laughing emojis and hearts and shit?
Well, somebody who's not in the fighting profession. She's in a different profession, I think, right?
That's it. That's the one I'm talking about.
I think you're talking about Kendra Lust, a legend of different sorts, of many teenage dreams, so to speak. But we here at 10-7 and at Proshmo Bets are, of course, welcoming to all people from all walks of life, and we appreciate the love nonetheless.
Shout out Kendra.
Shout out Kendra Lust, a true legend, like somebody who's, she's had the duration. She's been there for a long time and done what she's doing. And thank you for her sacrifice.
Diaz is crazy, man.
Thank you for her sacrifice and what she's given to the community and what we've all given back, and so on and so forth. All right, boys, let's dive right into it. Oh, I just want to say real quick, typically we do just focus this kind of on just the betting side of things and touch on breakdowns a little bit. We might dive into the breakdown side of things just a little bit deeper because we didn't do our full card breakdown this week. Do check out the quick picks. But in any case, let's dive right into it. We've got the first fight of the night, which is Marquel Mederos. He is taking on Mark Choinski. Harry, what do you think about this fight? How do you see it going? And do you have any bets on this?
Man, they say Choinski is this offensive wrestler that we should look forward to. Seeing C-Rod over at the Fighters Hotel yesterday, man, he's pretty big on Choinski. And I was actually looking forward for a Mederos win. He's got those razor elbows, volume, strikes, good jab, cross, calf crushers, man, calf crushers. But I'm just going to go on with the this you got to go with the 31, 32-year-old over this 27, 20-year-old in Mederos. I'll take Choinski. I'll take my chances with him. And that's what I like as a side.
Starting off hot with an underdog pick here. Dino Bam Bam, how do you think this fight's going to go? And do you have any official bets on this?
Yeah, look, I already broke it down in the quick picks. As you mentioned, link in the description. Go check that out if you're more into a fast-paced, just quick thought kind of fucking thing. But for me, Diaz, I got to stick with Marquel Mederos, man. I've been really impressed with this kid. He's clean. He's technical. He's sharp, dude. He's patient. He's dangerous when he gets his timing down. He is a little bit of a slow starter. I do worry that if Mark Choinski can get him down, it might be trouble for him. But I'll just stick with my guns here. Minus 245, Marquel Mederos. I'm okay with it on the money line. It's nothing I'm super comfortable parlaying. I guess if I'm going to stick with it, I'll go Marquel Mederos by knockout if I had to make a bet, but no official bet on this one for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Marquel Mederos as well, man. I just don't really believe in Mark Choinski personally. I hate to say it. He's 29 years old, only 8-0 as far as his record. So, you've got the much younger fighter with more experience. I think we're going to see Choinski really try to lean on that grappling and try to get the takedowns early. Maybe we see him go for a submission or something like that. I just don't think he's really all that good personally from what I've seen on the tape. So to me, man, Mederos is a fairly confident bet here. Now, would I put a bunch of units on this? Probably not. I do like him on the money line though. I think we see him win by decision. I'm also, I think a bit of a question mark for me is Choinski's cardio, right? Last we saw him, I believe he fought at welterweight. That's another thing that's kind of giving me a little bit of pause here. So on the Mederos side, though, he did have some sort of mystery illness last week. I don't think he was avoiding fighting Balagioki. I think there was something genuinely wrong with him. Just something I want to throw out there, right? So, but for me, I got to go with Mederos, and I like him on the money line.
Yeah, Choinski's a big dude, man. So that's why I'm not like as comfortable as maybe you are, DS. I kind of get where you're coming from, Harry. I just don't see it, brother. I got to stick with Marquel Mederos.
He's good. He's good on top control. He's good with his offensive wrestling. Mederos, I saw him scrambling on the mat. He's great. Don't get me wrong. He's good. He's good.
All right, let's move on to the next fight, which is Quillian Salkilld. He is taking on Yanal Ashmouz. Dino Bem, I'll give this one to you first. Do you see this going in any particular way? And do you have a bet on this?
I do, DS. I do see this going a particular way. I think this fight either way ends in a knockout. I think it ends in the first half of this fight. I'm fairly confident that it will be Quillian Salkilld who will get that knockout. However, Yanal Ashmouz does have very, very good power, especially early in fights, right? He's one of those guys that tends to fade, kind of a bigger dude, really explosive, and he lets it all hang out. Pause, no diddy. But he lets it all hang out really early, man. I'm going to go with Quillian Salkilld just because I've been super impressed with his striking. He's composed, he's sharp, he's calculated. He doesn't waste too much movement, and I've just been kind of like in awe of this guy. He was one of those dudes where I didn't believe in him at first, and then his performances made me a believer. So give me Quillian Salkilld by knockout. I think that's the official bet, but if you want to get into the weeds a little bit, this fight ends by knockout is my bet.
I respect it. Harry, how about you, man? Do you have any?
Yeah, man. He was conditioning the striking when I saw him at the Fighters Hotel, man. That's all he was doing. He didn't have to roll or anything. He wasn't grappling with anybody. It's all just striking for him. I'm surprised to have heard that take from Dino because that's really where I think this fight should end, on the feet. Prove himself a little bit. I don't want to discredit Ashmouz at all, man. I mean, against Chris Duncan, he was fighting through a broken arm, and that went to decision. So he's good, but Quillian is going to counter that guy. He can hurt him. And I do see the potential for a decision. But, man, to some degree, you also have to think, that there's a sizable difference, in height and reach. Ashmouz is rather short for that weight class, sure. Man. Yeah. If he took out Sam Patterson, it's because Sam Patterson was not supposed to be in that weight class whatsoever.
Yeah, I like that you said that. I also think just Quillian is a much more fluid just mover, right? I think he's not as stiff as Sam Patterson, just generally moving around on the feet, and is probably not as hittable. I do think that maybe he's a little bit overrated. To me, these odds are kind of fucking crazy. Minus 485, minus 4 something. To me, this is nuts. To me, this should really be like minus 200, in my opinion, something like that. I like what you said. I pretty much agree with you, man. I do think that Yanal Ashmouz is somebody who I wasn't particularly high on, but he's got some power. He's got some nice kicks. Now, is he going to be able to land those kicks? He's got a 7-inch reach disadvantage. He's got a 3 or 4 inch height disadvantage as well. So, I mean, he's got some power. Both these guys got good power. Probably Yanal Ashmouz's best chance to win this, if he wants to be safe, is try to work the wrestling and get some takedowns in. But we've seen him when he does that at times. We've seen him take some shots too. So I'm going to take Quillian Salkilld to win this, man. I hate the odds, so no official bet for me. I think if you are going to bet anything, I would sprinkle a little bit on Yanal Ashmouz by knockout. I think you can get some really good odds on that. But as far as an official bet, man, I'm just not taking it. It's just too risky for me. And you'll notice this is a trend for me on this card. I just think that Vegas doesn't really want you to make any money on this card. Maybe I'm wrong. Harry, you're the expert here, obviously, on that. But to me, I just feel like the way that they've positioned some of these fights and some of these lines, it's a tough one for me. So that's a long way to say I'm not making a bet on this one.
Yeah. Hey, look, one thing I'll tell you, I mean, you did mention sprinkling on Yanal Ashmouz. I don't hate that. I don't hate it by knockout. I especially don't hate it. I mean, if you're going for like a home run sprinkle, Yanal Ashmouz round 1 KO is not a bad play. Again, the official pick is Killian Salkilld, but that's not a bad play.
Yep. I respect it. All right, let's move on. Next fight.
Real quick. One more thing. I just want to throw in one more thing. How in the fucking world did Danny Barlow lose to Sam Patterson? I don't get that shit.
I don't know, man. Sam Patterson did look like a different beast in that one, but I use that term loosely too. I mean, I don't know, man. I really don't know. That's a great question, honestly. Yeah. Sam Patterson, one of the goofiest guys in the UFC. No disrespect. All right, let's move on. Next fight, we've got your boy, Jacob Saragih. He is taking on Ju Sang Yu. Harry, what do you think about this fight? How do you like it? Do you have a particular fighter that you prefer in this fight?
Man, I was again at the Fighters Hotel. Initially, I was on Jekka because that striking is incredible. But after I heard his coaches make remarks around how his scrambling was subpar, I feel like, man, the guy had the playbook through the camp and just was not doing homework. I then go on to see how Jekka actually made it to the UFC, and I see some padding, and I don't like it at all. Veteran fighters that he should not have fought. I guess they had a plan for him initially, but on the ground, I don't think he'll be able to match this Korean prospect.
Respect. How do you feel about Ju Sang Yu?
Brother, you seen that physique? You see how short the South Korean roster is? I mean, we've lost everybody. We've lost the Iron Turtle, Daeun Jong, the Korean Zombie. We got to build the roster. And I think in the last the last 90 to 120 days, we've only had one South Korean fighter win. So this got to be the next guy, even on a trend.
If I'm understanding you correctly, Harry, you think that the UFC wants this guy to win, right? There's some of that in this, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. And he's match made for that because, again, Jekka, no ground game. The other guy can offensively wrestle. It's match made.
Yep, 100% agree. Dino?
Yeah. DS?
No, I'm saying you. You next. You want me to go? Okay, I'll go, I guess. Point blank, I think Jekka Saragih is maybe not the worst. He's top 5 worst fighters in the UFC. I think he's extremely one-dimensional. I think he's got power for sure, right? So when you've got a guy like that, yeah, of course, he's swinging for the fences. He's got great power. He's explosive. He's unorthodox with his strikes. He's going to probably throw some crazy spinning shit and things like that. I just think he's a low-level fighter. I do think that Ju Sang Yu is there. He's starting to build some hype, right? And I think part of that is exactly what you said, Harry. I fully agree with you. But he is pretty flashy as a striker. He actually does have some decent wrestling, in my opinion. He's got some good wrestling defense too. I like this guy, man. I think he could be at least until he gets fraud check 2. But I think he is kind of the next one up for South Korea. I think this is an absolute shoo-in, and I think the minus almost 500 odds basically speak for themselves here. As far as a bet, I don't think this is a dog or pass. I think there's I won't say no chance. I think the likelihood of Jekka Saragih winning this is very, very low. I think Ju Sang Yu could win this on the feet, standing up. I think he's live for a submission too. But I think with the level of opponent, I think he's going to recognize that. And unless he feels the power very early on, and so maybe that changes his mind. But I do expect the fight to stay standing, and I do expect him to get a knockout in this. I think he has something to prove, and I think he's going to kind of try to make it a flashy finish. So, no official bet. I mean, I guess if anything, I would use Ju-Seng Yu as a parlay piece, but man, those odds are pretty crazy.
Yeah, and the only reason I passed it to you, DS, I don't know if like you could hear me or not, but I had you guys muted, so I was like, "What the hell's going on here?" It's going silent. But I heard most of what Harry said, then I heard most of what you said, and I think I agree. Okay, Ju-Seng Yu is going to be the pick, 100%. I don't know if this sounds racist or not, but when it comes to Asian fighters, I think South Koreans are the best of all the Asian fighters, and I know that's kind of lumping everybody together. But what the fuck is the UFC going to do with Indonesia? Right? That's not a market that they're trying to get into. That's not a market that they really need. I mean, any market is a good market, I guess, but South Korea is definitely a country that the UFC needs. We've seen the push into Japan and South Korea and China. They need to get that portion of the world back on the train in the UFC, and that's kind of what this was match made for. I think Ju-Seng Yu is an obvious pick. I think I agree with you. Parlay piece, I'm pretty comfortable with it.
I just want to say one more thing, too. The brother has lost to Anshul Jubilee, okay, by knockout and ground and pound, but still TKO, and also has lost to fucking Weston Wilson. So, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Next fight on the card, we've got Ariane, formerly Lipski, currently De Silva. She's taking on Cong Wang. Dino Bam Bam, how do you see this one going?
Yeah, man, I think it's pretty obvious. I think the odds speak for themselves, man. Last time we saw Cong Wang, a.k.a. Wang Tong, is actually what her name is, but it's spelled that way, which is a little crazy. But last time we saw her, I think she got that rebound win after getting fraud checked, right? And everybody either loved or hated this lady.
Listen, you can't be calling Chinese women wonton on the show.
That's literally her name, brother. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. But look, when she came in hot. She got that first round knockout, one shot knockout, which you rarely see in women's MMA in general. And she looked like a killer. She looked like a marauder. And then she got fraud checked, and everyone was kind of like, okay, maybe she's not as good as she says she is. She's as good as she says she is, man. On the feet, she is absolutely nasty. Yes, she has holes in her ground game. She hasn't been doing MMA for very long, but Ariane De Silva, a.k.a. Ariane Lipski, not the same girl that she used to be, man. She's no longer the queen of violence to me. I think this is an easy Cong Wang win. I would go by knockout. I think that's the most likely outcome here. Yeah, give me Cong Wang. I don't know that I want to bet it at all, though, to be honest with you. It's like, maybe, again, throw it into a parlay. There's not much money to be made here, as you were alluding to, DS.
Respect, Harry?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that take. I like it. I think Wang is relentless. There's no one that could really mirror and match that prowess in striking. Anything like a right cross could put out Ariane. And actually at the Fighter Hotel, I was actually taken back by how much weight Ariane had on her. I mean, has yet to cut a little more. She's too big. She's too big. She's going to have a terrible weight cut. I don't think the cardio will keep up with her through the rounds. I preferred her actually when I was betting her at plus 180, plus 250. She was at Amanda Nunes's gym. She had independent coaches. She's at Fight Ready now. And I understand, she's going to attempt to offensively wrestle Cong, but Wang Cong has good defense. So she'll just hook her, work against the clinch. They're both Thai fighters for sure, but she's got more kickboxing experience, Wang, and I think those high knees will just start to wear on Ariane Lipski, and I'm very confident, like in this money line, despite the number on it, like I am with this South Korean prospect because of how disproportionate and how the style make favors the clear fighter.
Yep.
The clear favorite, yeah.
And I pretty much agree with both of you. I agree. I think Cong Wang is going to get a TKO finish in the second round here. I'm an Ariane Lipski fan, man, or Ariane De Silva fan, but newly married, is she living life on easy mode? I'm not saying she is, but I just have to mention it. It's something I have to mention. it's not often that Ariane Lipski fights a more experienced or better Muay Thai fighter. You know, why am I not on the big screen?
You are on the big screen for me, brother.
Oh, okay, not for me. It's Harry just there, but
shift it. All right.
But yeah, I mean, look, people sometimes make it out to be like Ariane Lipski. Like, yeah, she's pretty well rounded. Is she like some crazy submission artist or something like that that's going to be able to really capitalize on Cong Wang if the fight gets to the ground? I don't think so. I also think that Cong Wang is physically the stronger lady here, you know? Maybe she's not as flashy. You know, Ariane's got some nicer kicks and things like that, you know, that are a little bit more flashy. I just think that on the feet, it's not going to, I think she's going to outclass her on the feet. I really do. And as far as the actual kind of bones on the betting side, I feel pretty much the same as I do about the Korean fella. It's almost the same odds. I think it's a parlay piece. Now, you know, am I going to make a straight bet on it? Probably not. But I think it's a good parlay piece again.
I like when we're all in agreement. It feels good.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Next fight. We've got, and I'm very curious to see how you guys are going to feel about this one, but we've got Khaos Williams. He is taking on Andreas Gustafsson. Harry, how do you see this one going?
Man, that guy's boxing is ridiculous, man. He's got hammers for fists, and I saw him at the Fighters Hotel. You know, I got a video with him,
Khaos?
and yeah, Khaos, yeah.
Okay.
And all he remarked was like, "Hey, man, they must have forgot. They forgot, but I'll remind them." So he has a lot of conviction going into this fight. I don't like Gustafsson. He throws wild. Striking isn't his base. It's offensive wrestling. But then we've seen Khaos Williams go down as well with Bonfim. Bonfim's a grappler, man. He does have some luta livre experience, so maybe we could credential him there. But Gustafsson has fought against, has grappled against Olympians. You know, you know, on the feet, there's no answer. You know, no way he could respond to Khaos. I mean, I just hope he blitzes him and he tries to get him out of there in the first round. If he goes through the second round, I'll worry a bit. And then, yeah, that's how I have the fight going. I really want Khaos to finish him. We'll see. You know, he's talking up a big game. He's very humble, very meek about going into this fight. And I think that Khaos shared that as he was walking, you know, through like the lobby area, that Gustafsson actually grilled at him. All right. So mean eyes, right? What a glare.
Yeah.
And he didn't like that. So, you know, I got Khaos Williams on the money line.
I like it. Dino?
Yeah, man. Harry, I've seen this guy fight live a couple times. Khaos Williams, that is. And, you know, you're saying he said people must have forgot. I'm going to remind him. I'll tell you what I didn't forget. That Abdul Razak El Hassan knockout where he had him out cold for 10 to 15 minutes. It was one of the most wild scenes you'll ever see. The UFC went silent. They cut to commercial. They came back. Dude is still stiff in the octagon. Khaos Williams has power like very few people. And every time we've broken him down, DS, and you can attest to this, we've always said that Khaos Williams has the power to knock out anyone on the planet, anyone on the roster. Like this guy, it sounds shitty to say, can fluke his way to being a world champion, right? Of course, there's a lot of holes in his game, and that's why he'll never get there. But I do think he's good enough to beat Andreas Gustafsson. And if I'm picking Khaos Williams, I got to go by knockout. I don't see him, you know, just kind of like outpointing somebody for 15 minutes. If this guy's punching you for 15 minutes, you're probably going to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I pretty much agree. I mean, I think we're going to see a Khaos Williams kind of end of the first round type knockout here. I could see him being on the back foot for maybe like the first minute or so. I think there's a chance that Andreas Gustafsson comes out swinging and tries to put a pace on him. He likes to kind of, you know, get up close and start brawling. I just think that his style of striking specifically matches up terribly with what Khaos Williams likes to do and stay at kind of boxing range. There's a big power difference here. Weirdly enough, feels like Khaos Williams has been around forever. Andreas Gustafsson is making his UFC debut at 34. Khaos Williams is only 31 at this point. So, you know, maybe he can do some work in the clinch and things like that. But I'm pretty comfortable with this one. One of my comfier fights on the card. I really like Khaos Williams by knockout. I think I probably wouldn't get too risky. I think on the money line, I I would probably bet it by knockout. I just don't really see it going any other way. He's got 3 or 4 inches of reach as well. He's got the experience. He's got the power. This one is pretty straightforward for me. I think these odds could be even a little bit wider, but maybe the Gustafsson name is carrying a little bit on that end. So
yeah, I like that take, DS. I like that take because you also have to remember UFC is actually in negotiation terms right now with this network syndicate. Okay, so they need to put on a show. Coincidentally, Sean O'Malley,
especially after last week,
they're on the verge of signing a new deal. So they have to get these ratings, man.
Yeah. And I'll tell you guys, Andreas Gustafsson, I don't want it to sound like we're kind of shitting on him. Dude's good, man. I mean, he's tough. He's brawly. Came from FCR, which is a reputable organization out in Sweden. But again, DS, I love what you said, man. The style, his striking style, and he's not really a striker. He's more of like a pressure grappler. He'll use the striking to get into the grappling, and that is not good with Khaos Williams.
Well, yeah, and I like what you said. I do think that there is a place for him in the UFC. I just think it's a bad matchup. But in terms of overall level, I don't think he's much below Khaos Williams. Is like overall, like on the where he'll end up in the rankings kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yep, 100%.
Cool. Let's move on to the next fight. And oh man, this one I'm very, very curious to see what you think. We've got Serghei Spivac. He is taking on your boy Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Dino, how do you see this fight going?
All right, and I know why you're passing it to me. You think you're being fucking slick, DS. You're not, okay? You're not slick. If you guys have been fans of the channel for any length of time, I don't like Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Salsa boy, not my cup of tea, okay? Not my cup of tea. Look, he's good. He's a good striker, man. He's been implementing those leg kicks, which is really impressive for a guy that hasn't been in MMA, hasn't been in combat sports for a long time. As you guys may know, DS, I know you've done some striking for sure. When it comes to Muay Thai, when it comes to leg kicks, you got to condition your legs, man. This guy came from baseball. So there's no leg conditioning there, but the leg kicks are coming, and it looks like he's taken to it really damn well. And for what it's worth, he's been pretty impressive. Everybody hates him for what he did to our boy, Andrei Arlovsky, who, by the way, signed these gloves to us custom to Dino and Dino. How cute of the pit bull, Andrei Arlovsky. But look, I love Serghei Spivac. I don't love Waldo Cortes-Acosta, but man, plus money on this guy. It's like it's tempting me. The official pick is Waldo Cortes-Acosta. I've seen no chinks in his armor. I'm hoping Spivac takes him down and beats his ass and ragdolls him, but I think I'm wrong. So I'll go Waldo Cortes-Acosta on the money line. I think it's good value at plus 120.
Crazy. Harry?
Man, the only thing you would worry about in a fight like this is really if Spivac could get him down. Yeah. Can he grab a single leg and take him down? What's Johnny Walker's brother's name? You Walter. See how? Yeah, Walter's improved his offensive wrestling like you wouldn't believe. So I'm not sure how credentialed Spivac was. I need that data set and see if he has anything going on as far as combat sambo back home. I got to look into that. But even then, I mean, those strikes do hurt. He has an opportunity on the feet, Spivac, because Costa's arm reach is rather short. He's going to, but Costa slugging, I mean, anything that you get hit with is going to hurt. And we've seen, I mean, Gelton Almeida, who has no power. I mean, you got a guy like Spivac, who's an offensive wrestler, nearly curl, I mean, you got to go with Acosta for that. He can finish a fight like Derek Lewis. You can finish a fight. And mentioning Derek Lewis, like, how would we match make this now? I know that Derek Lewis versus Salsa Boy would be a fight, right? And Derek Lewis does fight, I think, on the UFC Atlanta card, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't hate that matchup.
Yeah, if he wins, I would love to see that.
And any bets on this, Harry? Anything official?
I could see Acosta finishing him by ground and pound, as Serghei is grabbing onto his leg, pulling it from the backside, and that's it, man. Just hammering down, and they're stopping the fight. That's what I see.
Yeah, I kind of see it later on in the fight too. I went decision officially, but I can definitely see a late TKO like Serghei Spivac getting tired. He is a big boy. DS, what do you got on this fight?
Look, I just want to briefly go through Waldo Cortes-Acosta's record. Que lo que, brother. Ryan Spann, no longer in the UFC, one of the dumbest fighters to ever walk the octagon. Robles de Spain, no longer in the UFC, right?
But he's a karate combat champion. For what
karate combat champion, where he doesn't have to do much grappling, right? Andrei Arlovsky, old as shit. Okay, Lucas Bresky, trash. Okay, lost to Marcos Rogerio de Lima, fine. Beat Chase Sherman, beat Jared Vandera. So Thomas Peterson, okay, so is beating up on these bottom feeding ass heavyweights, okay? So I just think he's the best of those, right? And I do think he's got some power, and I do think that we've underrated him because he's just kind of been a scumbag in the past. But this is such a big step up in the wrestling and on the grappling side, right? Like Serghei Spivac is eons ahead of anybody else that he's fought thus far in his career in terms of the wrestling acumen and the ability to get you to the ground. If Serghei Spivac loses this, he needs to figure something else out, because I think this is tailor-made for him to win this and finally fraud check this guy. I don't think you're going to fraud check him. I do think he's actually pretty good. He actually does have decent takedown defense, 66% thus far. But again, who is it against, right? Which one of these guys that I named are wrestlers? None of them. So to me, man, I think we're going to see Spivac win this fight. It does concern me. We've seen Spivac chinned, right? So, you know, and at times he just kind of seems a little lost in there. But he's a high-level wrestler, man, in the heavyweight division, taking somebody on who has never shown that he can take on somebody like this. So for me, I'm going to take Spivac. I'm going to take him by second round submission. I am a little bit worried, right? And we've seen Waldo Cortes-Acosta stay in some of these fights where, you know, you wouldn't expect it, but he does. So not a very high confidence pick. Probably not an official bet on this one for me, but come on, Spivac has to win this, man.
And real quick, before we move on, just a couple things I got to touch on there. Number one, DS, shame on you. I just showed the Andrei Arlovsky glove, and then you're like, who fuck's Andrei Arlovsky?
No, I said he was old as hell. He beat up on like a 50-year-old Andrei Arlovsky.
Shout out to Pitbull. And then the second thing, hey, Harry, this is why we got Harry on the show. And I gotta profess this out there for the people that are watching. You guys know when it comes to the picks, I pick at around like a 68, 69% clip, which is pretty goddamn good if you compare it to the rest of the MMA industry. But I'll tell you guys this. Sometimes, Harry, I do get emotional, and I pick with my emotions. This time I tried not to. I'm going Waldo Cortes-Acosta, and I might even place some money on him. But deep down, and this is, again, why you're here, deep down, I want my pick to be wrong.
Yeah, it would just come down to the matchmaking, man. Like Derek Lewis said, you know, the UFC scripted. Now, obviously, it's not scripted like for entertainment purposes, although there is some fixing to that degree, but that should make up 1 to 3% of all the fights a year. What I think he was referring to is like the obvious metrics. Like if you put Derek Lewis in there with ex-opponent, right, that long-rangey guy, the Brazilian he's about to face.
Yeah.
He obviously, you know, the UFC is, you know, the matchmakers are telling him, brother, first round, finish him first round. I mean, the metrics prove you can finish him in the first round. So, I mean, in this case, you know, what do you think the matchmaking is going to be? What's that guy's name, the Brazilian that Derek Lewis is facing off in Atlanta? Because that's really what it's going to come down to.
The guy with the big spider tattoo, right?
Correct. From the Contender Series.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know why his name's slipping me right now.
You got to make it. DS, I think you'll have something more intuitive. You know, who do you think they're looking forward to for a win here? This monster with long reach who's as tall as the trees, or Derek Lewis? And if that's the case, remember, Derek Lewis called out Salsa Boy.
Yeah. Man, I feel like
you know why Derek Lewis, you know, DS, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You know why he called out Salsa Boy, right?
Why is that?
Because Salsa Boy remarked, he said, I'm Dominican, I'm no black.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
I'll tell you guys, look, I'll tell you two things. When it comes to what you were talking about earlier, Harry, when it comes to the ESPN, you know, the potential ESPN deal, the Netflix deal, Amazon, whoever's still in on it, right? When it comes to that, Derek Lewis is very good for the UFC. He's a net positive, right? A lot of casual fans know Derek Lewis. You can go back to the Conor McGregor days to get some of those real casuals. He was on the Conor card, right? He was on the Conor Habib card, And that's kind of where he really got his fame. So I can see the UFC wanting Derek Lewis to beat this kind of, long-bodied, generic Brazilian. Let's call him that for what he is. Derek Lewis is definitely what the promotion wants in terms of fame and revenue. We'll see though. This is a young guy. He's got some power. I believe he's undefeated. Still haven't done my film study on that, but I mean, Derek Lewis makes more sense for the promotion. I don't see that. I don't see the other guy, Tyson Teixeira, ever being a star, a quarter of what Derek Lewis is.
So it sounds like the verdict is Acosta versus Derek Lewis down the line.
Man,
that's a huge fight.
I have to disagree. I think the juice has been squeezed out of Derek Lewis, right? I think that somebody like Derek Lewis, he wins and you don't really go wrong, right? You got another win for Derek Lewis under his belt. He took out this prospect. I think ultimately, if they had their druthers, they would rather this other guy win. I really do, because now you have somebody else that you can potentially push. I think there's a reason this fight was made, right? I think there's a reason that you're throwing this kid in right away. Let's see what he's got. If he can beat Derek Lewis, boom, he's towards the top of the division, relatively speaking, right? He's got a big name win under his belt. And if not, great. You fall back on, we got Derek Lewis, who's one of the best, probably the best on the mic as far as heavyweights go, right? The people love hearing Derek Lewis talk. So you can't really go wrong in this one, in my opinion.
So it's Acosta, Waldo Acosta Cortes versus the Spider Monkey. Is that what you're saying?
I think either way it goes, honestly. I think either way it goes.
Spivac, okay.
I think they would rather see Spivac win it, to be honest with you. I think,
that means that they're building up.
Can go further, right? Like,
and that means they're building up the Spider Monkey. You know why? Because Spivac already lost to Derek Lewis.
Yep. Well, let me ask you this. How far do you see somebody like Waldo Cortes? Let's say he wins this fight, right? Let's say they match him up with Derek Lewis. You think he wins that fight?
Yeah. I do.
So some differing opinions. Let's say he wins that. Like, I feel like he's already out kicking his coverage. If he hasn't yet, it's coming soon. Like, I don't think like Waldo Cortes-Acosta.
How about the guy that Spivac was supposed to fight? I know we're kind of getting into the weeds with this, but Shamil Gaziev versus Waldo Cortes-Acosta. I like that a lot.
I like that too. I like that a lot, actually.
That's a badass matchup to be made.
I mean, that's a wild matchup. That is such a wild matchup.
So then it would be Shamil versus the Spider Monkey or Shamil versus Derek Lewis.
Let's ride. Either one of those. I'm all for that. All for that.
That was fun. That was a fun little breakdown. All right, let's go. Move on to the next fight. And this is another. I mean, we're noticing a trend here. Some big favorites all throughout the card. Of course, this one is Azamat Murzakanov, undefeated. He is taking on Brendson Ribeiro. How do you see this one going, Harry?
Brendson Ribeiro, he lacks the chin. So I think anything against octagon wall, he's always proven time and again, just incredible vulnerability. He opens up, you pierce the guard, it's game over.
Yeah. So are you betting the money line here on Azamat Murzakanov, or how do you feel?
Yeah, no, Azamat is a monster, dog. That guy's a beast, and his physique. I mean, yeah, he's not gonna look like a John Cena, chiseled up the ass, but he's put in the work in the gym. You can tell from if you go through the grids on every event from here, from his debuting fight to now with the UFC, strength and conditioning is doing great.
Yeah. Dino?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is my most confident pick of the card. It's Azamat Murzakanov by knockout. I'm going to say round one for the same reasons Harry was saying. Let's also not forget this guy is coming off of back-to-back 2 steroid suspensions in a row. Brendson Ribeiro does not have a good chin. He leaves himself open. This dude is juiced and jacked. And you see the OV, but he's not one of those boring Dagestani wrestlers. The guy is a striker. He's knocking Brendson Ribeiro out. There's no other way this fight ends.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to really add much here. You've got an undefeated guy who is very powerful on the feet. I think he's one of the more underrated fighters in the entire promotion, quite frankly. I really do. He does not have the look whatsoever. He looks like everybody's got an uncle that looks like this guy, right? Where, he's weirdly strong and he doesn't look like much, but then he's a fucking beast. So, yeah, I think we see a first round knockout here. He's very powerful. Brendson Ribeiro tends to make some mistakes. I think the height could actually kind of come to hurt him here. I think he's going to leave his chin up in the air, and I think Azamat Murzakanov is going to find it, and swiftly.
Yeah, it's a tall guy that's lanky and throws loopy versus a guy that's going to be more compact. He's definitely got more power, I think, than Brendson Ribeiro. Again, steroid, twice he's been suspended for steroids. But when it comes to his striking, it's the opposite. It's not wide, it's not loopy, it's straight and it's direct. So this is a no-brainer. Azamat Murzakanov wins this fight. Harry, we lost DS for a second. I don't know if you could see the camera, but
no, I'm back. My bad. My phone's at like 20%. So,
but yeah, Azamat Murzakanov, easy money on this one.
Yeah, easily. I mean, the odds speak for themselves, but easily a very, very confident pick. Hell, if you want to get crazy and sprinkle it on the money line, I'm comfortable with that too.
Yeah.
All right, boys, let's move on to the next fight, which is Bruno Silva. He is taking on Joshua Van, our fifth, I believe, minus 500 or minus 480 plus favorite on this card. Dino, how do you see this one going?
I'm gonna give it to Harry Diaz. I know he had a lot to say about this, and
okay, fair.
He's got a dog in the race. He's got a horse in the race, or whatever the term is.
Oh man, he could tear down Josh. Man, this guy's a twitcher. This guy with his Thai boxing, his capoeira. This is Bruno Silva. We're talking calf kicks. We're talking front kicks. He's got a great uppercut. You saw what that was like. Very relentless. Doesn't give up. Finished Cody Durden. By ground and pound at that. So if the uppercut wasn't enough, he said, fuck that, hammer fist. And yeah, man, I like Josh. I just don't think he has the physicality. He's really young. I think he's 23, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And his boxing, I mean, his arms are rather short. It's a sizable opponent. Bruno has yet to fight someone his size, which was incredible. He's got through Ulan Beckham, Tyson Nam, all these tall guys. Cody Durden, he's fucking 5'9", And here we go. Cap, whose thighs are, he's got bantamweight, featherweight thighs. I mean, it's a strong takedown defense. So it's good, Bruno Silva is from the graduating class of Kai Kara France, Pantoja, Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval. That's why he's number 12. And I'd like to see him win this fight, but I think a decision will go to Joshua Van, right? That's why the 12th and 15th are so close. And he's fighting, so close in the rankings. He's got a lot of the public's support. And, yeah, I think he'll go down eventually. It sucks that they'll do that to Bruno, but it's happened in the past. It's happened in the past with Ulan Bekov. He's got fights with like Dvorak. I don't know if you know David Dvorak. Yeah. And, Bruno's won those fights. He fought Khalid, and Khalid popped hot for steroids. So that was a no contest. So, again, man, Bruno's just incredible. He's a great fighter. It's just one of the best fights on the card. That's why it's, the closing to the prelims. And that's what we'll see, man. I hope it is the upset. I hope that's what they're expecting. But again, for the ratings, you could not have, put together anything better than that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, man, it's a 12-year age difference at this point, and we're at flyweight, and we're talking about a 35-year-old here. So that is one thing that really, really does give me pause here at these lighter divisions. The speed difference, some people might hear me say that and think, oh, 10 pounds, what's 125 to 135? There is a distinct speed and skill difference between 125 and 135, and every 10-pound increments basically from there on. I mean, these guys are crazy, right? And it's really a young man's game in this division. Bruno Silva is very dangerous. He's got good power. I think his best chance here is to capitalize early. Josh Van is known to be a bit of a slow starter. Josh Van is kind of an anomaly, man. Like, he fights like he's like a seasoned veteran in the sport, right? Where he's able to kind of get people to go to fight, his fight, right? And slow the game down a little bit. Really good boxing. Like Harry mentioned, he does have some short arms, but if you're believing topology, it's technically only a 1-inch reach disadvantage. I think it's probably a little bit more than that. So I agree with you there. I just think ultimately, man, even if he loses the first round, which I think is certainly possible, I just think ultimately we see Josh Van win the second and third rounds, kind of picking it up, continuing to land some good accurate strikes in the first round too. I think the takedown defense is going to hold up good enough versus somebody like Bruno Silva. And I think we see him get a decision win here. I am less confident in this one than I am in a lot of the other really high variance picks in terms of, big underdogs or big favorites. I'm not as confident in this one, but I do like Josh Van on the money line here. I think he's going to win by decision. Would I throw it into a parlay? Maybe. I mean, I'm not straight betting it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and then I'll just add on a little bit of both, a little bit to both of what you guys were saying. I do think Josh Van wins this fight, but Harry and me, DS, we were having a little conversation while we were waiting for you to log on for this, and we were talking about the point spread, Harry. I mean, and you know what? I don't mind that, man. You brought that up. It's a really, I think it's a good bet here because I do see Bruno Silva winning a round in this fight. I don't see this fight being a blowout at all, but for all the reasons that we've been talking about, just the fact that Josh Van kind of gets into fights later on, and the fact that the UFC is definitely going to want to be pushing this 23-year-old kid. For all those reasons, I see a decision going Josh Van's way, even if it is very, very close or even slightly in Bruno Silva's favor. It behooves the UFC to give him the decision. Good luck to Bruno Silva. I'm going to be going with Josh Van. But Harry, what were the odds on the point spread on this?
Plus 175.
Plus 175, man. I think that's a really good bet to make some money on, man. You leave that as a one-off, put a unit or two on there and have yourself a nice dinner. You know what I'm saying? There it is. How was he looking? I saw you posted on Instagram a little bit of him sparring. Captain Eric, shout out. Captain Eric was there with you. What did you see from Bruno? What do you think?
Man, he's looking sharp, man. His weight cut is going well, and he's feeling great, man. He's feeling better than his camp with Cap and Durden, yeah. And Tyson Nam. So it's only gone up from here, man. He's just ready to go. He's excited for it, man. He wants to get in there. His demeanor changes when it's time to talk, about the fight game,
Let's get it. Let's get it, man. I'm excited for him. I'm rooting for him. Yeah, it is what it is. Just that last fight, Harry. God damn, man. I can't get that image out of my head of. I know the style, styles make matchups, and Josh Van is not Manel Kopp in a lot of ways. He's not Manel Kopp. But man, Manel Kopp was the best version of Kopp that I have ever seen. And I've seen, 20 Manel Kopp fights at this point, and man, that was tough.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. Let's move on to the next fight. And this is, of course, the main card opener. And what a way to open it with Vicente Luque. He's taking on Kevin Holland. Dino, how do you see this one going? I know these are two your boys.
I guess, man. Look, this is a tough fight to pick, man. I broke it down on the quick picks. These are two guys that are just not reliable, man. They win a lot of fights. They've won a lot of fights in the UFC. But god damn, it feels like half the time you pick them to win, they lose. You pick them to lose, they win. Two really unreliable guys here. But what I'm thinking, and I always say I'm never picking Kevin Holland again, and then I pick Kevin Holland again, sort of like, Derek Lewis that Harry was mentioning earlier. I got to go with Kevin Holland. Vicente Luque, to me in the striking, man, he's slow, he's stiff, and I just can't get the image of him giving up. Like that image is burned into my memory forever. I feel like he's fragile at this point in his career. And I know that sounds terrible to say that about a guy that's been in the UFC forever, but I think Kevin Holland absolutely sauces him on the feet, just outclasses him on the feet. And if it gets to the ground, man, people forget Kevin Holland's actually got a really good ground game. Remember the Khamzat Chimaev fight? He got mauled and dominated in a minute and a half. But holy shit, he was scrambling better than everyone except Gilbert Burns that we've ever seen against Khamzat Chimaev. So Kevin Holland is solid enough on the ground to survive if he finds himself in a bad situation. We just saw that with what's the guy from Iceland? Why am I forgetting his name? But he just fought Gunnar Nelson, right? We just saw that with Gunnar Nelson, who's a jiu-jitsu savant, and Kevin Holland was able to survive some tricky situations with him. Kevin Holland by TKO, I think he just melts Vicente Luque. I hate betting Kevin Holland, so I'm not doing it, but that's the official pick.
I feel you, man. Harry?
Man, Luque, he's great, man. He can exercise technique in the striking. He can brawl. He does all the right things. But brother, you need speed, you need power, you need these things in a category that makes up the criteria, of what it is to be a welterweight, especially if you're facing off with these welterweights now, right? So what would JDM and Luque look like, so on and so forth. And I like Holland here. He's got the guard, he chambers, whips, to strike. His scrambling is very good. I like how, he's smart. He knew that Roman Dolidze weighed too much. He's like, this is not my weight class. That will not work the same with Luque. Luque is good, man. Like I said, it's that, in New York, bro, you if you were very smart and you made it out of grade 5 and you're going to middle school to high school, you either go to Stuyvesant High School, which is,
do or die Bed-Stuy
for the most intelligent folks, and then you go to Bronx Science with the same prerequisites to enter, right? You got to be one of the brightest minds, but Bronx Science is known for being sketchy smart. You understand? Where all the backdoor deals happen. And then Stuyvesant are your, just your goody two shoes, man. The guys that toe the line. So I think that's Luque, man. And it is what it is, man. He's just going to get got by this guy.
Yep. Yeah. I think the reach, we got 6 inches of reach here, or 5 inches of reach, 4 inches of height that he's given up. Luque to me just hasn't quite looked right, man. Like, props to him for being as resilient as he's been and going through the brain bleed and all this crazy shit. You said it, man. I just, when you show me you quit, right, and kind of we've seen both these guys maybe quit at times, I give Luque a little bit more leeway because of the shit that he's gone through. Kevin Holland, to me, you never know how he's going to come out. How motivated is he going to be? Is he going to be fucking around too much? I could see a world where he gets into some risky situations on the ground with Luque. I just don't see it going well for him on the feet, man. I really don't. Kevin Holland, for as crazy as he can be and as much as he can talk, he's a pretty calculated striker most of the time. So, to me, man, if the odds were closer, right, I would say that there's definitely value on, on betting Holland here. But he's a pretty sizable favorite here. To me, if I guess I would sprinkle on Luque, if anything, but no official bet on this for me. I just think Kevin Holland's going to get the TKO finish at some point. Also, Luque, believe it or not, only 33 years old, about as old as a 33-year-old can look at this point, I would say.
Yeah, he looks good. Good looking dude, good looking Brazilian dude. Hey, real quick, MMA math should not be mathin', right? But we got to do a little MMA math. We just mentioned Vicente Luque quitting. That was, of course, against Joaquin Buckley. And I know this is a different version of Joaquin Buckley than before, but look what Kevin Holland did to Joaquin Buckley when they faced off. He absolutely outclassed him and put him out, knocked his ass out. So take that for what it's worth.
Yep, I'm glad you mentioned that. All right, let's move on to the next fight. It's Mario Bautista. He is taking on Patchy Mix. And I think I want to give this one to Harry first. Harry, how do you see this one going? Do you have any bets on it?
Yeah, man. Initially, I walked into the training room there where the fighters were all sparring and doing pad work, and I just couldn't help but look over and see Mario Bautista there, and I thought he was about a whole day too soon for cutting weight. Until I saw Patchy Mix. And I did not like how Patchy looked in the hallway. He has a flyweight body. His legs are small, man. Yeah, man. So, at that point, I said, man, I really have to do some homework. I have to figure out how this is going to work out. And watching tape, I realized, I said, man, Patchy is very flat-footed, I mean, this guy's very inconsistent. He has great things that make up his game and things that are just, vulnerabilities for the right fighter, like this boxer, clincher, grappler in Mario Bautista, who's already fought the Mont Blackshear, right, with those kicks. So I noticed, I said, man, Patchy's flat-footed, his shots are latent, but then his combinations are sharp and he walks down his opponents, right? But can he do that against Bautista, right? Bautista is the actual boxer with footwork who can open, who can back opponents up. And seeing through fights with Rufián Stotts or Sergio Pettis, I start to think too. I say, did these guys not fight flyweights? Or were they not interchangeably matchmaking between bantamweight and flyweight? So I just was not happy about that, right? So sure, there are so many strengths in Patchy Mix's game. Like the kicks are his wheelhouse, right? And he can do on the feet against Bautista what he did to like Magomedov, where he drilled the knee to the diaphragm area, right? Again, this is a guy that held the belt at Bellator, champion, and is damn near undefeated, right? Besides the loss to Juan Archuleta.
That's his one loss, yep.
Yeah. So his greatest weapons are, kicking, so opponents can return fire. Now, Bautista has already seen this with the Mont Blanc shear. So I start to wonder, and I said, what the hell's the UFC doing here? Now, he is the most bet at -180. He really is. And then I start to wonder, well, most folks are counting on Patchy Mix to make it through the rankings. But what if Bautista is actually the guy? Because we know he is a well-rounded fighter, but we can see many vulnerabilities in his speed or his one-dimensional work, like the clinching. And I say, what if he's being set up to actually be someone's title defense?
You're saying Bautista is?
Maybe, right? So now the counters could damage Bautista, right? Bautista's like 1-1 against southpaws, right? So he faces off Guido Ganetti and the Argentine, and he struggles with him. But when watching tape, I'm like, hold on though. Guido Canetti is much older. I said, man, but by that time, Bautista's a very young guy. It's like thinking Christian Rodriguez facing off with a lot of these veterans, if he were to. I said, despite how talented. So I said, you know what? No, give me the boxer, the clincher, the larger, taller fighter. I saw them at the hotel. He is much bigger, wider. Bautista's much more chiseled, stronger, conditioned for bantamweight. And I make mention to you about how I think the UFC wants Bautista here, because if Sean O'Malley loses this fight to Merab, Corey Sandhagen's taking that belt from Merab. And Corey is going to need a title defense. And that's Mario Bautista. Now, if Sean O'Malley does win this belt, would he vacate? And we'll get there. I want to ask you your opinion. Diaz, Dino, I want to ask you your opinion on that fight. But this is my take on Bautista. It's him on the money line. Gun to the head. Gun to the head. One bet on this fight card. It's Mario Bautista.
Damn.
Okay, Harry.
Damn. How about you, Dino?
All right. I see Harry's gun to the head. And I'm going to let you know, Harry. I'm going to let you know the last time we posted that clip of gun to the head, it didn't go so well for you. Oof. It didn't go so well. Now, I know.
No. It went really well. It was Bilal Muhammad. Remember?
There it is. Gun to the head. Now, look. Okay. Hey, this fight to me, guys, is super goddamn interesting. For longtime viewers of the show, DS, I know you know this, man. I love Patchy Mix. I have been a massive fan of Patchy Mix for the better part of 7-8 years at this point. He's always a guy, Harry, that I've thought, when people see those fighters in PFL and Bellator and One and Ryzen and all the other promotions, and you kind of like plant your flag and you're like, that's the guy. That's the best guy in the planet outside of the UFC. And, they plant that flag. And I did that a long, long time ago with Patchy Mix. Now, I've went on Instagram a couple times and commented things like, this guy's top 10 in the world at bantamweight, and he'll respond and be like, I'm top 3. This is a guy I've met on several occasions, and he's been a pretty cool dude, and we've had a couple conversations about where he ranks, and he is adamant that he is a top 3 bantamweight on the planet. He trains with Merab, he trains with Aljo all the time, and for a while there, those were the best 2 bantamweights on planet Earth. And he hangs with them. And not only does he hang with them, he wins rounds against those guys. Now, Mario Bautista, I think this is a dude that is criminally underrated for what he did to Jose Aldo, right? A lot of fans saw that as boring, and I get it. Me and DS have been making the joke that, we've been calling him he who shall not be named. And I understand all that. But this guy is actually a very good fighter. I mean, look what he did to Jose Aldo. Who else has beaten Jose Aldo recently? Well, Merab Dvalishvili, the champion. We did just see Ayman Zahabi do it. That story's yet to be written. But, I mean, you're not beating Jose Aldo unless you're somebody. So I think the people that are super confident in Patchy Mix take a little bit of a step back. This is a very, very tough guy that he's facing. But, Harry, I'll tell you, you said the striking of Patchy Mix, there's some good in it, there's some bad in it. And I'll be as objective as possible. I think he has poor striking. I think his striking is not elite caliber. I think that jiu-jitsu is next level, though, right? He has that human backpack kind of thing that Aljo has. When this guy gets you down and he gets a hold of you and he gets himself into a dominant position, which he does very goddamn often, he holds that position or he gets himself a submission. That's a round that Patchy Mix is going to win. He did it against a guy named Magomed Magomedov. Just the name alone should tell you what level of grappler that guy is. Patchy was able to sleep him out cold with a rear naked choke. I have to stick with Patchy Mix just because I've been talking for all these years that this is the guy. I am a little worried in it, but I'm going with Patchy Mix. No official bet on this fight at all. We'll see what the hell, comes from this. I would love to see a Patchy Mix Umar Nurmagomedov fight. I would love to see a Patchy Mix Corey Sandhagen. Maybe even a Merab fight, a Sean O'Malley fight. I love those matchups moving forward. I don't necessarily love them for Mario Bautista, so we'll see. DS, what do you got?
I don't really have a lot to add, man. I really don't, because it's hard for me, right? Like I'm gonna go with Patchy Mix. I think that the jiu-jitsu is next level, like you said. I think his length will be a factor, and like his striking's not great, but he has improved a lot over the years. You have to at least say that. And he's very smooth with his movement, and when he's on top, he's unbelievable. He's damn near unstoppable when he's on top. To me, it really comes down to how good do you think the jiu-jitsu of Patchy Mix is? Is it enough to negate? Because Mario Bautista, what he does best is mix everything up. He does a great job of using the striking to set up the takedowns, using the takedowns, and just being constant action bothering you, holding you against the cage, right? He's just like a little fucking mosquito, right? Where you just can't get rid of him. And he's tough as hell, man. He doesn't really have a weakness, right? I guess his one weakness is that he's not great at anything, but he's really, really fucking good at everything. So I don't really know, man. I'm going to take Patchy Mix on the money line. I just want to say, for those of you that are not familiar with Patchy Mix and that are thinking like, oh, this fucking Bellator guy, like, yeah, right. This is not that. This is not that. I do think that this is a crazy fight to start him off with. If it was me doing the matchmaking, I probably would have given him a little bit of an easier fight. I know he's a top level guy and he's been a champion, so I understand why they're giving him this. I would have given him like one step down, just like one small step down. But if he wins this is huge for him. I think it's going to be a close fight either way. I think, to me, that's the biggest thing here. And I think he'll make some new fans. I really do. I think it's going to be a great fight. I hope he wins it, but I'm not betting this one. It's too close.
Real quick, I have to chime in with one more thing. I love that you mentioned it. You're like, I would have given him a slight step down in competition. That's not what the UFC's been doing for the last couple of years, and we saw it really recently, and I think that plays into the whole network thing, right? They brought in Patricio Pitbull. Obviously, shout out Patricio Pitbull, but they brought him in. They put him in against Yair Rodriguez. You move back a couple years. Yuri got Volkan Oezdemir. They're bringing these champions from other promotions now, and they're just putting them right in there with the top 5, and it benefits the UFC. Because if that guy wins, then, hey, we got new blood. If that guy wins, we got new blood in the division. If he loses, then it's like, hey, number 5, number 6, in this case, number 10 in the UFC is better than that other promotion's champion. So they get to beat their chest a little bit on it. Again, just confident in Patchy Mix, man. I have been for a long time, so we'll see. This is a very dangerous fight, and I think he does add some really good flair into this 135-pound division.
Look, I love that you said that because I've been thinking that I've been looking at it pretty much the same way. To me, for any wrestling fans out there, it's like when WCW came into the WWE, right? And all these guys came in, and it was like, okay, great. If you go over and the fans buy into you, sure, they'll keep you around and you'll be a Booker T, right? And if they don't, and you don't, like the majority of them didn't, they came in, got thrown to the wolves, and ended up, being jobless, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of similar in that regard, and of course now they're under the same company umbrella too. But I love that you said that. I think exactly what you said. There is no lose with bringing these guys in for the UFC. It's either like, see, look how much better our fighters are. We are the best by far, and none of these other promotions can, and their top guys can even come close to us. Or this guy's now on your roster and he's a star now. So there's really no lose in a matchup like this for the UFC. I just don't like Mario Batista's boring to me. He's really good. He's just boring. So I would rather see Patchy win it, but it is what it is. All right, let's move on. Next fight on the card, it is Kelvin Gastelum. He is taking on Joe Pyfer. I think we should give this one to Harry again first. Harry, I think I know, but you tell me, how do you see this fight going? Do you have a dog in the fight?
Oh man, it's already known to the world, man, that Kevin Gastelum is looking to get married. He's in love. He's also transitioning overseas. He's leaving the States, not for Mexico. We're talking for Japan. And yeah, man, I think he was looking forward to that, his fight with Joe Pyfer in Mexico, but it fell off. So, it appears that he went on, vacations and so on and so forth, got into the gym just to, strengthen condition. And we got him here now. I hope he makes the weight. I think that it would look great for Joe Pyfer to knock him out, not submit him, knock him out. Kevin Gastelum's never been knocked out. After that fight with Jack Hermanson, Joe, everyone has questions about Joe Pyfer striking. It was 5 rounds. Let's just start there. But hey, I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just trying to make something, that looks evident to matchmakers. Joe Pyfer, chip on his shoulder, knockout against Kevin Gastelum, cut him.
Damn. You think he's cut if he loses?
Oh, yeah, he's gone. I mean, he's got a fight promotion, too, now. He's got a regional fight promotion. He's the CEO and owner. So he's got things to be, thinking about, worried about now. And it's not, training in the gym, bro.
If that's the case, man, still one of the more impressive resumes, win or lose overall. But interesting that you mentioned that. Dino?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's Joe Pyfer by knockout. We've broken this fight down. It feels like 4 times at this point. I've always stuck with Joe Pyfer by knockout. Kelvin Gastelum, like Harry said, he's had 1 foot out the door. It looks like for a while now. I remember, I'm not going to get into specifics, DS, but you recall what happened when we were talking to Kelvin Gastelum in Vegas, and that don't make me feel too confident. So give me Joe body bags by body bag.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think we see Kelvin Gastelum get knocked out for the first time. I will say I was not as confident as you were when we last broke down this fight. When it was going to be at altitude, I had my reservations about a very heavily muscled guy like Joe Pyfer, who we've seen fade later into fights, versus somebody that's such a savvy veteran, has fought the best of the best. And let's be real, Kelvin Gastelum was never in great shape, right? But now he's older and he's in worse shape. He should probably not be fighting at 185 by any means. He tried to do the 170 thing, and I think that the fact that he quickly gave up on that kind of shows you where his head is at this stage of his career too. I agree. I'm taking Joe body bags by knockout here. Crazier things have happened, right? I think I like what you said, Harry, too. We need a definitive victory for Joe Pyfer here. He's somebody that the UFC is like begging to be able to push. He's got the look, he's got the body, he's got the style and the removal. No, but yeah, he's got the fighting style, he's got the power, he's got good wrestling. He really should win this fight. And when it was at altitude, I had a little bit more reservation about it. Now, with it being in fucking Jersey, yeah, give me Joe Pyfer.
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to clarify: Joe Pyfer by KO is my pick, but I don't mind the KO or submission. Right, you get the double chance there. I think that's amazing. Joe Pyfer will win this fight by finish.
Yep, I like it. I like it. All right, let's move on to our first title fight of the night. It's the co-main event. We've got Julianna Peña, potentially the most delusional fighter in the entire UFC right now, in my opinion. She is taking on Kayla Harrison, who is a absolutely massive favorite here, minus 625 at the time of this video. Dino, how do you see this fight going?
Yeah, man, I see it going how the odds see it going, DS. I'm picking Kayla Harrison, but there's a couple things that need to be said. Julianna Peña is an absolute dog. Is she as skilled as these top level, like, is she a Mount Rushmore girl when it comes to skills in UFC and MMA? Not at all, man. She doesn't have great striking. It's wild, it's ugly, it's loopy. Her grappling, her wrestling's pretty good, right? That's her best thing, but Julianna Peña wins her fights by being a dog. The first Amanda Nunes fight, that was a little sketchy. I don't know exactly what the hell happened in that one. But generally speaking, Julianna Peña is just a come forward, nonstop pressure, annoying kind of fighter. And she wins rounds by being that kind of person. And the thing that worries me for Kayla Harrison is last time we saw her face somebody like that, it was Larissa Pacheco. And she got her ass kicked by Larissa Pacheco over the course of 5 rounds. Like everybody's been saying, they're worried about the weight. She's going to make weight. She'll make 135. But how much will that deplete her? And what happens if we get into rounds 3, 4, and 5, right? We get into those championship rounds in 4 and 5. Fight's going to be looking a little different than it does in the first 2 rounds. I do think Kayla Harrison wins this one. I am absolutely sprinkling on Julianna Peña. And I mean like a nice little chunk, like 2 units kind of thing. Just because the last time we got Julianna Peña at these kind of odds, it was on UFC 269 where she won the title, man. So those were even bigger than this. But hey, I got to stick with it. I do think Kayla wins, but there is definitely a world where Peña wins, and she should not be plus 455.
Yep. Harry?
Yeah, I think the way she chains, her striking to grappling, so on and so forth, the opportunities she finds with the counters as she strikes, as wild, as she looks like the drunken Chinaman, she's effective. She finds efficacy in her fight regimen, and I think it shows well. It manifests well in the octagon. It's if this fight goes to decision, the same way they did Raquel, I believe they'll do Julianna Peña. That's just the way I see it. So I do have the fight going to decision. I do see that Harrison either, takes her out in the first, second round or goes through decision. This is a veteran fighter, a champion at that, twice over, right? Has to go to decision. And at that point, they'll give that to Kayla Harrison.
Spot on.
I think Julianna Peña currently is really more a champion by circumstance than she is by merit, right? At this point, she didn't look great versus Pennington. She does have that. She does have that something, though. She does have that dog in her, right? Like, she doesn't give up. She's going to keep pushing. And the weight cut does give me pause, man. I think that we're going to see Julianna Peña win a couple of rounds. I think she wins 1 round for sure. I think she might win 2. I do think ultimately Kayla Harrison is going to get the decision win here. Man, if Julianna Peña, if she has a ton left more than Kayla in the last couple of rounds, man, I could see it going very badly. I like what you said. I'm absolutely sprinkling here. That is my official bet, Julianna Peña on the money line. Or even by a late finish, honestly. I don't really see a late finish here. I could see it, man. But I'm picking Kayla Harrison officially, if that makes sense. But I'm sprinkling Julianna Peña all day. She's much stronger. She's bigger. She's fucking jacked, right? Like, Julianna Peña does not have good takedown defense, and that's what Kayla Harrison is amazing at, right? She also has very poor striking accuracy. She landed like 30% of her shots versus Raquel Pennington, right? That's not going to fly versus Kayla Harrison. So I'm taking her, but the weight cut and some of these other things that I mentioned do give me some pause.
I'll say this as well, real quick, Harry, just for some insight. Back when she did win the title, I picked Julianna Peña to beat Amanda Nunes. I bet her to beat Amanda Nunes. Parlayed that with Charles do Bronx, and at the time dropped $200 on it on that Parleezy, and we went straight to the nightclub that night. Okay, so that's what I was doing back in, what was that, 2021, 2022. So there's that. And then another thing, just to toot my own horn a little bit, y'all already know nobody on earth picks women's title fights like your boy right here. I've gotten one wrong the entire time we've done this show. One wrong the entire time we've done this show. And then 2 wrong since the pandemic. So I'm going Kayla Harrison. She's going to win this fight, but the Peña sprinkle has to happen. You have to do it if you're a responsible bettor.
So you're confident, right? Because I'm known for women's MMA too. Like everyone asks, how'd you get so popular, man? You had a channel called Undefeated, you know, and you switched that over to Pro Schmo, and your whole community followed you, and it was always women's MMA. You know, I thought that had the best variance. I could make money off of that. The better lines, the matchmaking was so obvious. Like you had Carnellosi, so jacked coming in, like that's all she was, jacked. No technique, no abilities, right? And it's funny you mentioned this because I'm surprised to hear this, bro. For you not to lose, you know, for you to have a stat like that, that's powerful. My question to you now, bro, that you sound like you're an expert with it, is how do you matchmake now? Is it as obvious as they have this fight, Weili, Shevchenko, and Amanda Nunes, Kayla Harrison? I mean, is it that obvious, or are we getting things wrong here? You know, is Weili never fighting Shevchenko because the UFC doesn't want to put 2 people that could, you know, deliberately destroy one career or the other, saying, hey, this flyweights better than you, or this strawweight's better than you. And we have Shevchenko actually face off with Peña if she wins, or Kayla Harrison if she wins, and then Amanda Nunes comes in, and you know Amanda Nunes has been really, you know, coming alive for Shevchenko and this trilogy, right? I mean, and this rematch. So what do you think? What do you think is going on there in the matchmaking world?
I'll tell you a couple things, Harry. When it comes to the stars, let's call them stars, right? In the women's divisions, there's very few, right? They had your girl Thug Rose for a while. They've kind of did Rose dirty and kind of let her slip, right? But with the new deal, and I sound like a broken record, with the new deal coming up, it might be that obvious, man. Amanda Nunes wants back in. The promotions are gonna want Amanda Nunes. They're gonna have to have a women's main event. You know, just to be PC, right? To be politically correct, they're gonna have to have a women's main event soon, early on in that deal. And what better than Amanda Nunes versus whoever it is? So if it is Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes, that's a dream matchup that was supposed to happen 3-4 years ago that we never got. If it is Peña, I don't see Nunes coming back. She just doesn't like her, man. Kind of like how John Jones was talking about Tom Aspinall. She just doesn't want to give her that shine. So that's where I see Amanda Nunes coming back, is if Kayla Harrison wins. I don't think they do Valentina versus Kayla Harrison. But if Peña wins, I can see Valentina Peña. And as far as Weili is concerned, she will go up eventually. If she has one more fight at 15 against Verna Janjanova and wins that one, she'll go up. She may go up before then. But as long as she stays clean, she's going up at some point. And I think the best fight you can make in women's MMA right now, skill for skill, is at 125, Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko. I think that's a super fight. We haven't had a women's super fight in a really long time.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with all that. And I like the breakdown, honestly. I would love to see some of those matchups.
Get it, baby.
Do you think Nunes comes back? Who do you think is the most likely opponent for Nunes if she does come back?
Kayla Harrison. If she's only coming back for the belt, and she's going to come back if Kayla Harrison wins the belt. If Julianna wins, Amanda will not entertain her. Unless the UFC drops a fucking bag. Unless, you know, Netflix is like, yo, here's 10 million, Amanda Nunes, we need you to scrap. She'll do it then, but otherwise I don't see it happening.
All right. I like it. All right. Let's move on to the main event of the evening. And of course, it's Merab Dvalishvili. He is taking on Sean O'Malley. Pretty sizable underdog for Sean here. Dino, I'm pretty sure I fucking know, but can you please tell the people how you're seeing this fight going and if you're betting it?
Yeah, so me and Harry DS, we've had a lot of conversations about this on the DMs going back, what, Harry, maybe 2 months at this point. Yeah, 2-3 months, something like that. We've been talking about this fight. Couple things I want to break down just before we get into, you know, kind of the full breakdown of it. But that previous press conference that they had, the UFC's been doing these, you know, press conferences 2 months out. And I don't know if I love it, but they're doing it for promotion. Good for them. I hated Merab Dvalishvili's demeanor in that press conference. That was the one where Julianna and Kayla Harrison kind of took over the show. But I didn't like what Merab was saying, man. He was there. He was saying, like, Sean O'Malley's going to stuff my wrestling this time, so I have to beat him on the feet. It's like, what do you mean he's going to stuff your wrestling, dude? Like, that kind of mentality was just like, holy shit, what is this guy talking about? I started thinking dollar signs kind of like Harry does, and I was like, is the fix in? You know what I'm saying? Is the fix in? But this last week or so, these last 2 weeks, I've seen Merab actually being the real Merab Dvalishvili. A lot more maturity out of Sean O'Malley. A lot's been made about the stopping of the smoking and the beating his meat and getting off of social media and all that. And that's cool. You know what I'm saying? That's all fine and dandy, but he's been on social media this whole time. The dude has been posting. If you look on his Instagram, there are posts from the last 2-3 weeks. There have been stories the entire time. As far as beating his meat, I can't talk about that, brother. I wasn't in the bedroom, but his wife is pregnant. So, he's probably getting some. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know that I buy all that shit from O'Malley, especially if you go watch the media day today. They asked him about all that, and he kind of had like this weird smirk and started shaking his head no, like body language shit that lets you know he's lying. So I don't buy all that. There's also rumors of a Sean O'Malley ankle injury. So that's all the pre-fight stuff. When it comes to the fight, all I can do is talk about the X's and O's. And we just saw this fight, man. We just saw it. Yes, Merab had a fight against Umar, but he leveled up in everybody's eyes against Umar Nurmagomedov. Sean O'Malley hasn't fought since, so he's been training for Merab. But I got to stick with Merab Dvalishvili on this one, on the X's and O's. Now, couple things that need to be said. Plus 230 Sean O'Malley is a slam. You got to slam that because Sean O'Malley is always live with the knockout. And then again, I sound like a broken record, but with the new deal coming in, whether it is ESPN or Netflix, Sugar Sean O'Malley has clearly been the guy that the UFC's been wanting to push for damn near 5-6 years at this point, right? He's got the colorful hair, which he didn't paint this time, and the kids love him, and all these teenagers are all for Sean O'Malley. That's a star, right? I'd argue and say Merab's a bigger star. He's been more entertaining. But either way, decision, if Merab doesn't make this shit super, super obvious, if it's like the Umar fight where a lot of people are saying he won because he emoted, or it's like the previous O'Malley fight where he won 2 dominant rounds but clearly won a third, I think they swing it and give it to Sean O'Malley, and they won't give Merab Dvalishvili a rematch. That's the perks that come with being Dana's boy and his star. So my heart and my mind are with Merab Dvalishvili. My money will be on Sean O'Malley because I think there is an opportunity to make bread at plus 230.
Respect, Harry.
Hey, man, he had a hip fracture when he fought Merab. That's all I could say. UFC Noche was cataclysmic. Dana White certainly knew that Sean O'Malley went into that fight injured. And when he was asked, he had a flush face behind that press microphone, and he said, I didn't know. Double stuttering and all. How do I know he knew? I mean, I have a graduate degree in behavioral psychology. There's 17 personality indicators. And Dana White, the way he lies, it's the opposite. That's it. You trap him in it. It was so simple. When he was asked during an interview with ESPN Sports, they say, what should we be looking for? Like, what sort of theme would you attribute to your UFC Noche $20 million roundup? And he said, it'll be like, I'll tell you, it'll be like the Rocky movie. It'll be like Rocky. That's all I'll share. Yeah. Obviously, man, from the ground up, you had Merab come out like an underdog, like a Rocky Balboa, and win that fight. But again, off a hip fracture. That's crazy. So if we talk about this skill for skill, like there's things I like about Sean, right? So you have he feints the jab or step fake, that's that twitching shit he does, but he does this with everything. It's not just one or two things. His footwork keeps opponents guessing. He has high output, and he's a great counter striker. And we're gonna see someone, who uses a very fundamental base in striking. Just how he blitzes for single legs and double legs. The 1-2-2-1 in striking. that's not going to change with Merab. So you have to, think along the lines like, okay, well, if Sean's going to exploit that now with his coach, what's left? Well, the clinching. That's really all that's left. So what is Sean going to do? Work against the wall, maybe a round or two, waste some time, give Merab that round, work, buy himself minutes in the cardio. Very smart, take him to deep waters and then maybe finish him off there, on the feet. Sounds about right. He is the counter striker, right? So that's how I see how this fight should roll out. However, is there a potential for a robbery decision despite O'Malley looking good this time around? That's what I'm fearful of. We have Mario.
You think the opposite of what Dino's saying. You think, if anything, you could see it going to Merab.
Potentially, and this is why I wanted to bring this Mario Bautista conversation forward, because, is Corey going to fight Merab if Sean loses? What sort of title defense would Corey have? I don't think he's fighting Umar right off the rip after a loss. And granted, he had a broken hand, right, in round 1. So it would have to be Bautista, or would it be Patchy Mix? What do you think? Right off the rip, what do you think?
Umar.
No, but Umar's coming off a loss and he fractured his hand. So I think he'll need like an additional 4 months, no?
It doesn't matter, Harry. You know that the Middle East money's in there, man. Dubai, Saudi Arabia is invested. Umar Nurmagomedov is the uncrowned king of the division, not just for his skills, which the guy does have. He's very skilled, as we saw, but there is money behind Umar Nurmagomedov that there isn't behind any of these other guys. I don't think the UFC could give less of a shit about Corey Sandhagen or Mario Bautista.
Okay, so let's talk about a Sean win. So who is Sean? What is Sean doing? Is he moving up to featherweight?
Not yet, but yeah.
Is he going to fight Volk?
No.
Because they haven't set up the Yair Rodriguez fight, and there's been a lot of backlash on that.
I'll tell you the future moving forward, and I'm sorry, DS, before you hop in here, the future of bantamweight to me is very, very clear, right? And it depends on obviously what happens on this fight. If Merab wins, he'll be back in the cage in September, October. He'll be back in within 3 to 4, 5 months, absolutely tops. That's either going to be the next guy, which is Corey Sandhagen, or a potential Pantoja. If Pantoja gets a quick title defense, maybe he goes up to 135. Those are the two outcomes for Merab. It's 3-4 months from now. He'll be fighting again, September, October. I could see a Umar rematch in October in Abu Dhabi. They're going to keep Merab going until he loses. And then when it comes to Sean O'Malley doesn't fucking fight, man. He is the prima donna of this division. I know the UFC calls the shots, but they baby this fucking guy. If Sean O'Malley wins on Saturday night, we will not see Sean O'Malley for the rest of this year. I promise you that. We will see him early next year. March in Vegas would be my guess. So I say he's on the shelf for 9 to 10 months, and they'll let the division kind of sort itself out to give him either the Umar fight when it kind of makes sense. Umar coming off of an injury maybe has to get one win, or another fucking layup for Sean O'Malley. So that's the way I see it. It's either Merab and the division keeps moving, or O'Malley in March.
I agree with you, honestly. I do. I think exactly that. I think there's going to be a big difference in how they approach the title picture moving forward based on who wins this. Truthfully, I picked Sean O'Malley to win the first fight. I don't get, people talk like he got dominated in there for, I don't see it that way. I don't feel like he got dominated at all. I thought it was a fairly, no, I wouldn't say close, but I thought he put up a pretty good fight there. Purely off a hunch, I'm taking Sean O'Malley again. Purely a hunch pick for me. I know it's the main event, and maybe that's not what the people want to hear. On paper, Merab should win this. We just saw him coming off probably the biggest win of his career. I don't need to tell you anything who he is. The fucking EPO levels of cardio, the pressure wrestling. Last time, at the end of the fight, he was able to take Sean down, fairly easily. Now, unless Sean O'Malley has really, really worked on his takedown defense, which why wouldn't he, right? And, are all these changes that he's making going to really make that big of a difference? I don't know, man. I don't know. Something is telling me that Sean O'Malley is going to be and new again.
Let me ask you then. So if Sean O'Malley is and new, I don't think Sean O'Malley wants to face off with Umar, because there is one thing,
No.
a chip that people forget, that O'Malley likes to, broadcast to the world. The fact that he's undefeated, right? He gets his lick back. He gets it back from Chito. He's getting it back from Merab. So what if Sean does, and you get that belt and move to fight Volk, striker versus striker?
I don't think they'll give him, after just getting the belt back. I just don't think they. Or are you saying Volk to move up? I don't think
I'm
either one of
saying
them.
Sean
I don't
O'Malley
think the UFC
to
wants
move up.
either one of them moving up, and especially what they said last time, like they're done with this moving up and down bullshit. Even though after that, multiple huge names have moved up and down. I just don't think either of them are going to be in that position. I think they would want to see them at least get one defense more each.
Because that would leave Umar, Corey, and Patchy Mix if Sean were to vacate.
And Merab and Peter Yan. They're still in the picture.
Well, Merab is gone, and then Peter Yan has to still work his way up. He's actually match made with
Marcus McGee.
Which is a wild matchup.
Real quick, Harry. Here's why I disagree with that. I just don't see. First of all, O'Malley has been on record multiple times saying that he wouldn't fight Volk. Yes, this was a while ago. He hasn't talked about it much as of late because he hasn't been the champion, but he's been asked about it several times, and he said, nope, won't fight Volk. And then when Ilya became champion, he's like, I'd fight Ilya, but I really took it as like facetious. Everyone's been scared of Ilya Topuria. I know there's the narrative that Islam ran away. Believe what you want about that, but Ilya is the scariest guy in these lower divisions right now. I don't think O'Malley wanted to fight him, but he was saying, I would. The UFC, I'll tell you this, they want Sean O'Malley, and this is painfully obvious. They want Sean O'Malley to be a champion. They've always wanted that. That's why they babied him and coddled him up up the rankings. And he's fighting fucking Tomatoes Alfredo, and he's fucking fighting Chris Matinho, who just got re-signed. So he's got bullshit matchups on his way up. If you take Sean O'Malley, who the diehard MMA fan base doesn't like, the casuals fucking love Sean O'Malley. The diehard MMA fans do not like Sean O'Malley for those reasons that I just mentioned. If you take him and you give him a title shot against Alexander Volkanovski, and God forbid he knocks out Alexander Volkanovski, he's a double champ, he's pompous now and all this bullshit, there will be no one more hated in MMA history than Sean O'Malley, and maybe that's a good thing, right? Maybe that is a good thing, but holy shit would people fucking hate Sean O'Malley if he got to fight Volk and knocked him out.
Yeah.
Like, man, that'd be fucking brutal.
That would be wild.
Yeah. What do you think, Harry? What's your matchmaking thought?
Yeah, man, I think that's where we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to say and find out, man. We'll have to figure it out. We know Yan ain't in the picture. He's gonna have to vacate it if he wants to take on Volk. If he stays, then who's he going to get a title defense on? Corey Sandhagen? I don't think anybody wants to really watch that, Was that gonna sell? I guess it could sell. I guess. What do you think?
It could sell. Why not? Corey Sandhagen, fun striker, same kind of lanky body. He's dangerous. I could see it.
And he's the best matchup for Sean.
Yeah, but they want to coddle him. Anyways, we're getting too fucking deep into it. Look, we're going to talk about these things as fights happen and results fucking come up. But I'll let you guys know this. Big difference in who wins this fight this weekend, how we're moving forward. We're going to move forward in very different ways depending on this fucking fight. Anyways, guys, UFC 316, DS, say some stuff.
I got nothing else to say, brother. I got nothing else to say. What do you want me to say?
I don't know. Harry, what do you got, brother?
Let's go, UFC 316. Don't forget, gun to head, Mario Bautista.
Harry said gun to head, Mario Bautista. Me and DS are going the other way, so I guess we're going to find out. Anyways, guys, that right there is DS. Fuck, pointed the wrong way. That right there, Harry from Pro Schmo Bets. Go give him a follow. His YouTube is in the link below, and his Instagram has been scrolling on the bottom for some time here at Pro Schmo Bets. Give your boy a follow. My name is Dino Bam. This is D107 MMA. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.